Well, hello there, guys. Well, as we all know, the video title says it all, that this is a 5 tip, 10 tip, or something around guide how to farm the Alani Skyshards. And as we all know, Alani is a beautiful mount which we all desire to have. However, it takes a load of time to actually manage to get the Skyshards. And personally, throughout my WoW career so far, I only managed to get one which is in the bank, and one which I managed to get today somehow. But basically the guide which I'd say would be the best to do is basically change your mentality state whilst you're farming them. People who normally farm them, they think they are farming for the sky shards, which in turn can quite demoralize people. They're basically thinking that they are farming the sky shards, and after like 1000 mobs they don't get the sky shard. They started to get a little bit frustrated and unhappy doing them. So instead, the mentality state which I would suggest for you guys to put yourselves in is they were farming the ancient Guolai cache keys. And the reason for that is, uh, if you try to farm for those, they have a much higher rate of dropping, as well as being able to fall much quicker too, if you get what I'm saying. But the plan for each day which I made for myself was to have 40 of those keys farmed in one day, and during the farming I'd obviously kill the shouty and sorcerers, fists, dominators, etc., since they are the ones who mostly drop the fragments. However, if you instead decided to farm, for example, them for the Skyshards, it wouldn't quite work. That would be the first tip, since you're going to be farming for the keys, which will make your mentality state a bit easier for you to work with. The second tip, which I would suggest for you guys as well, would be to more or less focus on farming your professions whilst doing this. Since during this entire thing, around ruins of Gorlai, there's a lot of ghost iron veins, plus different items as well, I'm not sure what. Tailoring, you can get your windwool cloths during the entire thing, and skinning as well. Well, skinning wouldn't quite work for other people, but you can still get the windwool cloths and sell them on auction house. Because so far I've been farming for the last 3-4 hours here, and I've managed to get a 1 Skyshard, as I said, and that was during about 20 to 30 keys, which went quite well. I'd suggest farming for the ghost iron bars, since they're the most efficient, so just as soon as you get them, just smell them, and buying 1 thermal anvil to save yourself going to shrine also helps. Once you actually get into the bars and wooden wool cloths, I suggest selling them for a much cheaper rate, and if you see veins, I'd go for them as well. Another important tip for farming of those sky shards, in my opinion at least, is to try and get the ancient Golai runes, which I'll try to find in about a couple of seconds, hopefully on some kind of a stone building. And since the charm, as I'd like to call it, helps us to get 50% to critical strike damage done and 25% for critical strike to actually happen. However, you need to be able to get at least 5 of those little Rune Stones, which is not too much of a trouble if you ask me. There's loads of them around the place, and literally they're to be found everywhere, pardon me. Like for example those ones, see? Go like Rune Stones, and just basically collect them and basically just grab 5 of them, but you have to replace them every 5 minutes, otherwise you get into a really bad situation where you lose them and then you have to go farm them again, which is pointless if you ask me. And the third tip which I'd suggest is also, whilst you're farming, you can also look for dark soil, this thing around here. The thing actually helps you get like ruby shards, lovely apples, blue feathers, marsh lilies and jade cats, and they're useful for the tiller's quests, or rather reputation with each tiller for the farming, which also helps you, well, it helps you get reputation with them and saves you the trouble of doing some dailies, if you ask me. Okay, that's 3 of the tips, and the 4th tip, which I'd say, is to grab a couple of potions of luck. They're normally on auction house, they cost between 50 to 100 gold, depending on the seller and depending on how good your server economy is. For me it was around 70 gold, but it's not really too much of a trouble. Since whilst during the farming, you're going to be killing thousands of those shouty and soul callers. I don't mean to like I mean to emphasize there's at least thousands of them to kill to get those sky shards, but in my opinion that's the best choice for you to actually get those potions of luck. Because during your farming, if you keep farming at the rate you are for about a couple of hours a day and doing at least 40 Guolai cache keys, you're able to get a lot of what's it called? As I said, windwall cloves, ghost irons, even trillium you can get quite a lot. Plus gold. I think I've managed to get 1 golden lotus through the farming, because you get the plundered treasure if you use the potions of luck. And once you get the plundered treasure, the lucky part for you is there's some gold in there. For example, this one has 2, but others have 4, exotic leather, maybe even golden lotus, maybe in trillium, depends how it goes, to be honest. I think I even managed to find 1 imperial silk once, not sure how, because it's not on the wowhead item list, but well, it was useful to its extent, I suppose. And as I said, just you gotta keep farming. And the 5th tip which I suggest is, if you got the time, try to pull entire groups of the Mogu, since if you pull an entire group it just helps and saves you the trouble. And also, if you can, I would suggest buying Cloak of Coordination and a guild page. Since if you have a guild page, it just saves the trouble of going to shrine and selling like extra stuff. And as well, armor and weapons which you're gonna find on Shouty and Sorcerers, I suggest taking those as well, since they're just basically extra stuff which you can sell for like 30, 20G, 10 gold, and it all adds up obviously. But one thing I would suggest not collecting is blanched needle mushrooms as well, and broken parts of statues, because that's just pointless if you ask me. Extra time wasted, and it costs you just wasteless gold if you ask me. But yeah, for the best chance of getting the Skyshards, I'd suggest trying to aim for 40 ancient Golai keys a day. This actually motivate you mentally for you to actually bother to get those Skyshards. And plundered treasure, I suggest getting them to get the extra gold and items and stuff. And the last 6th tip is, I wouldn't suggest farming for the entire day, because that would just break you mentally. After about 2 hours, if you do keep farming, you just get used to it and you just don't really care anymore, which is what I'm doing at the moment. But I'm kind of regretting it, to be honest. But yeah, just keep getting the items, and again, keep selling them as well. One thing which I avoid if you ask me, is to pull extra ads, which I know are really worth it. Shouty and Dominators for 1. If you just see 1 as like an entire group, I suggest getting them, because there's also other people farming for those Skyshards, and it's gonna be a real pain in the ass if somebody else managed to grab like an entire group of the Mogu and then suddenly gets a Skyshard accidentally or something. So, you know, try to pull as many as possible and then just nuke them down with AoE damage as fast as possible. Yep, but those are mostly the 6 tips or 5 tips or something which I've got for you. And if you like the video, please subscribe, and if you want me to make any other videos for collection of or farming of something, please do let me know. And for now, see you guys!